Hello and welcome to this next tutorial in Blender, and in this one we are going to look at adding a very basic rig that allows us to move the can that we made last lesson. So obviously in the last one we created the UV texture that we wrapped around the can, and now we're going to add this little set of bone structures, or in this case a rig, and then we'll keyframe animate it to make it like it's moving. And the camera is just very similar to how we did in a previous tutorial where we did the text. Okay, so let's go over to our early version. So there we've got our basic can. Now this is already textured. I've just sort of moved the rendering mode so it's not in our way. I'm going to go into edit mode. So I'm pressing tab, and we can see at the moment we've got the very straight faces, and what I need is more polygons, more faces, more vertices that we can play with, animate. So I'm going to use the new tool, loop cut. So loop cut lets me choose somewhere where to sort of divide it in two. If I click once, so just once, and then I'm going to come down to my little loop cut menu. I'm just going to press number of cuts, so 2, 3, 4, and that should probably do. Just press enter and that should accept it. I'm going to click onto my little arrow tool, so now we've got a few more options. I can just hide that menu now. So if I come into front view, I'm going to go Shift and A. Oops, still got the loop selected. I'm going to press Shift and A. Okay, come out of edit mode. Schoolboy error. Just so I can see what's happened, I'm actually clicking to wireframe now. So Shift and A finally, and I'm going to add an armature. So this is going to give us the rig, and that's our first bone. I'm just going to come to the top view and have a look. Yep, it's in the dead center, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to go into edit mode, so pressing tab. I can select the top of it, so again I can select the main bone or the top. I'm just going to move this down. I'm going to press E to extrude, just like we did with the fish. E to extrude, E to extrude. Now I'm not doing a perfect job, because I'm rushing for the video. So there we go, I've now got some bones in there. So if I press out of edit mode, we can see our bone structure. I can at this point go into pose mode, where I could click on the bones and I could sort of just start to rotate them around a little bit, but you can see it's not taking the can with it. I'm just going to select all of them by pressing A, and Alt R just resets them. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the can. I'm going to come back out of that, I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to click on the can, click on the bones. I missed. Control P, and Control P sets the parent, so it's kind of like gluing it to it. And I'm just going to come down to this Armature Deform Automatic Weights. This doesn't always work, and sometimes you then got to go in and paint and sort of set how things work, but for now this should be alright. So Automatic Weights. So now the can is glued to each bone, and that's the reason I needed these extra lines, so it's got a bit of flexibility to it. So now if I click on the bones, go into pose mode, I should be able to sort of click on these things and press Control R, and the can should kind of go with it. Now there's lots of other clever things you can do with inverse kinematics and more rigging and weight painting, but we've now got a can that'll move. Again, I'm just going to press, in fact, let's so you can see what I'm clicking. If I just click on A to select all of them, Alt and R, it resets all of the bones. Okay, so I'm now going to come down here a little bit. Now the other thing, if I go back into solid mode, we can't see the bones. What I can do is come over to this menu, get rid of that. What I do is come over to this menu, viewport display, and I can just tick in front. So now, no matter what I'm doing with the textures, I can always see the bones. Okay, so now I want to animate these. I'm just going to, so I've just moved the timeline up a little bit. I'm on frame 1. I'm going to just click on this record. Now this will help with auto key and auto recording where we're going to go. I'm not going to totally trust it for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide over to say frame 20. I'm going to just move these, so I'm going to move it one at a time. So I'm just clicking on each bone, pressing R to rotate. So I've got the can sort of wiggling a little bit, and that should have recorded all those. But if just in case you need doubt, I'm going to press A to select all, I to insert a keyframe. I often like to do this anyway. The reason I did it on frame 20 is I'm going to come back to frame 0, well frame 1, and I'm just going to do that Alt R to reset. And now I can just go I to insert, location, rotation, scale, just to make sure. So now when I move the slider, we should see the bones going over. I'm going to come to frame 40, frame 40. I'm going to click on the first one. I'm just going to press Shift D to duplicate. So Shift D, and I can move that keyframe now. So that was frame 20 up to frame 40. So hopefully, if I'm doing this right, we start in the upright position, we go to the right, and then we come back up again. and then I'm going to go to frame 60. I'm going to bend it the other way. So bit of rotation, bit of rotation, bit of rotation, a little bit of rotation. And again, it should have recorded everything, but just in case, I'm pressing A, select all, I to insert. And now we should have got, going from there, back up to the centre, to the left. I'm going to do the same again. So for frame 80, I'm going to come back to my 40th keyframe, Shift and Shift D to duplicate, come to frame 80, and I've now got a little animation where my can is going from left to right. Now at this point you can play about with the speeds a little bit, but you've got a simple animation. Now to stop at frame 80, because right now it wants to keep playing up here, I can just change the end to 80, rewind it, press play. I've got a little can sort of doing a bit of a dance. Now you can play about the speeds, play about the animations. You could even sort of grab the middle one, you could scale it, sort of stretch things out a little bit, scale the top one, shrink that down a little bit. Now it's auto-recorded that keyframe, I'm not too happy about that, so I might press undo for it. But there you go, you see it's doing all sorts of things. Now obviously it's over to you, go and add a rig to your can, play about with the animation and experiment a little bit. Okay, I shall see you in the next video.